Hey, welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here with us right now because we're about to tackle something that is deeply personal and honestly profoundly transformative. Today, we aren't just going to look at some abstract theories. We are looking directly at the architecture of your own mind and how you might actually be trapping yourself without even realizing it. We're going to explore the psychology of faith. And I don't mean that as a religious concept, but rather as a fierce, unwavering fidelity to the law of your own being. So if you've been feeling totally exhausted by your own life lately, well, you are in the exact right place.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked through a day where everything looked absolutely perfect on paper? You had the job, the relationships, the social approval, yet you felt this internal crack so deep it literally made your chest ache. You might have just brushed it off. You attributed it to stress or a lack of sleep or just general burnout. But I really want to validate that secret pain for you right now, because that isn't just stress. That is your soul refusing to continue living under a mask.
You're actually experiencing what Carl Jung called the call to individuation. It's this profound psychological event where your psyche basically just goes on strike. It refuses to continue living a lie, and it starts demanding absolute internal authority. It is that exact moment you realize you can no longer be this managed, heavily edited version of yourself just to keep the peace. And giving a name to this suffering, that's the very first step in reclaiming your power.
All right, moving into Section 1, the biological trap, and why change is so hard. To really understand why it's so incredibly difficult to answer this call, we have to look at the neurobiological software keeping you stuck. The author James Clear points out a pretty brutal neurobiological fact about this. Your brain did not evolve for your long-term evolution. It evolved for immediate survival. It's literally programmed to seek what we call cognitive ease. That means it naturally prefers the path of least resistance, right? Staying on the couch, seeking quick dopamine hits, and above all, avoiding conflict at all costs. But true individuation, that fidelity to your own being, requires immense effort. You are literally fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming when you try to change.
Now, what's truly fascinating is how this biological laziness translates into our social lives. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche called this herd morality. Because fitting in feels biologically safer to your primitive brain than standing out, you naturally just default to societal expectations. When you lack a higher belief or a sense of vocation, your brain defaults to maximum adaptation to society. You turn into a statistical cog. You become perfectly palatable and entirely legible to everyone else, but you're completely alienated from yourself. Jung actually warned that maximum adaptation to society is the minimum access to yourself.
Which brings us to Section 2, dismantling the persona. Tearing down the mask. How do we actually break out of this biological and social trap? It starts with tearing down the social mask that you originally built out of brute necessity.
Jung warned us extensively about the persona. It's the mask we wear to survive socially and ensure connection. And man, so many of us operate with this exhausting mental surveillance system. You probably know the exact feeling I'm talking about. You constantly scan the room before you speak, you edit your truth in real time to avoid disappointing literally anyone, and as a result, you just exist in a chronic state of self-neglect. You burn immense amounts of energy just running this surveillance system to make sure everyone else is comfortable. You lose the neural tracks to your own truth because you are just too busy monitoring everyone else.
So here is the crucial turning point. When you begin to trust that your subjective experience has value without needing external approval, you perform this silent revolution. Jung called over-explaining yourself a sophisticated form of submission. When you stop compulsively explaining yourself, everything changes. You officially stop begging for permission to exist.
This means you've got to stop being an emotional emergency button for everyone else. Every single time you over-explain or instantly react, you leak psychic energy. But when you stop the people-pleasing, you reclaim that energy. You create an entirely new choice architecture for yourself. Instead of relying on fragile willpower to be quote-unquote good and acceptable, you consciously design your environment and your reactions around your own internal law. You finally keep your energy within your own system.
Section 3. The power of silence. Outsmarting the noise. Let's look at the actionable tools you need to hold your ground when the world pushes back.
Nietzsche introduced this amazing concept of the Übermensch, an individual who transcends the herd. The Übermensch doesn't win by shouting louder than everyone else. They win through absolute internal mastery. True power is not about having the best comeback or winning an argument. True power is the ability to remain entirely calm while everyone else around you is losing control. Your silence becomes an amplified presence that commands total respect.
To harness this actionable power, you have to master these 4 weapons. First, suppress the urge to react. Just let the silence hang. Second, observe. While they scramble to fill that awkward void, you just watch their hidden insecurities surface. Third, master the pause. Time creates tension, and tension is power. And finally, become entirely unpredictable. When you are no longer a puppet to social triggers, no one knows how to manipulate you anymore.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real magic of silence. By refusing to justify your existence, you break the manipulator's loop. By not giving them a reaction to project all their issues onto, you force them to confront their own internal noise. They're left all alone in the room with their own insecurities, and you remain utterly untouched.
Section 4, the ordeal, the necessary suffering. I know what you might be thinking. Doing this is incredibly painful. The pushback is going to hurt, but we need to radically reframe this.
You might look at your current state and see nothing but defects. You feel anxiety, or apathy, or chronic fatigue, and society is quick to tell you that you are broken. But Jung observed that the psyche intentionally produces these exact symptoms as a mechanism of transition. These aren't diseases. They are signs that your old life is crumbling because it has reached its absolute limit. Your psychic energy is just pulling away from the fake life to prepare you for the real one.
And when you finally stop fighting this and just listen to your own silent scream, something incredible happens. Synchronicity. This is when your unconscious actively magnetizes the symbols, the messages, or the exact keys you need to escape your internal prison. Look, the fact that you are engaging with this exact explainer right now, at this exact moment in your life, isn't just some magic algorithm. It is your psyche orchestrating a synchronized response to your readiness to finally wake up.
Finally, Section 5, the radical crossing. It's time to take the leap. We've reached the climax of our explainer. You know the biology, you know how to dismantle the mask, and you understand the power of your silence. Now you have to face a harsh but ultimately liberating reality. Listen to me carefully here. No one is going to save you. No guru, no perfect partner, no sudden stroke of luck, and no external force can live your life's meaning for you. You've been waiting for permission to be free, but that permission is never going to come from the outside.
You have been maintaining the cage of your own availability with extraordinary skill for a really long time. But the brutal truth is, the door was never locked. You have to take radical responsibility for your own healing and your own narrative. And yes, this absolutely means you must be willing to be fundamentally misunderstood and even rejected by those who only ever valued your utility. You have to be willing to leave them behind.
So, if you can feel the urgency of this leap right now, if you know deep down that you can no longer go back to sleep, I want you to make a symbolic declaration to seal this commitment to your own soul. Go into the comments right now and type, "I choose to cross." This isn't for an algorithm. It is a public, psychological affirmation that you are done being a managed version of yourself. Make the choice. Because if the door to your cage has been unlocked this entire time, what exactly are you still waiting for? The journey to becoming whole is really just beginning. Our next explainer will take your mind even further into your own internal mastery, so I will see you there.